Hi, this is Anthony Wilkinson. It is July the 7th, 2010, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about my story. When I talk to people at meetings or when I meet them in business, I always ask them, what caused you to decide to do what you do? Why are you in your business? And I find the answers are always really fascinating. I always find people do so many different things in their lives, and the choices that they make and the reasons they do things, I find that completely compelling. And it really motivates me to do the best job I can to help them succeed at whatever it is they're doing. So if you're in a business or when you meet people, don't be afraid to share your passions with people. And when you're, even though it's business, it's good to know, how you got there and why you do what you do. I think it makes, certainly for me, when I know where a person has come from to get to where they are in their business or what the choices that they made to get there, it makes it so much easier for me to understand how to best serve them. And when you can best serve your clients and understand your clients or your vendors or your coworkers or your family, it makes life go so much smoother when you can anticipate their needs and when you can help other people the best you can. And that's, I think that's the reason why I got into doing what I'm doing. And for a lot of people, it's the reason they do what they do as well. So I was born in 1977. A lot of my memories of the early 80s are from the birth of the home computer. The computer was first coming to people's homes. And in my experience, there was two camps, and they were divided by the upstairs hallway in my grandmother's house. On the west side, my Uncle John in his room had a Commodore 64. On the east side, my Uncle David had a Texas Instruments TI/94A, or is it TI-94/A? Regardless, it was a Texas Instruments machine, and they would have great arguments at the dinner table over which machine was better than the other, and it was like a prehistoric Mac versus PC because the arguments were often ridiculous. And I remember that I would always want to, play on both machines, of course. And because it was annoying, they would assign me tasks like they would give me a printout of code, and they would say, find spelling errors, find the lines that are misnumbered, look for missing symbols. And so I was debugging software at like 6 or 7 to basically to my uncles to get me to stay out of their hair. I got my first Commodore. Well, my only Commodore, I still own it actually. When I was 11, my dad picked it up for me at a yard sale. And if you look behind me, you'll see I found a YouTube clip of like 100 Commodore 64 games in 10 minutes. So there's little clips from all these games. And so I spent a lot of time finding games for the Commodore and typing in games from Compute Magazine and things like this, which is this book here, How to Write Your Own Fantasy Games. And for your microcomputer. And it was a really great book, and it tells you gives you a really good introduction into, at least for me at the time, into data structures, into programming. Like it talks about arrays. And, when you're 10 or 11, I remember it being kind of confusing at the time, but I managed to get through, and I was really lucky because by the time I got to college, I was going to college with people in a computer programming diploma program who hadn't programmed before and probably would have a lot of difficulty with even this book. So I was really fortunate that the people in my life were around, and I got an early start on being a programmer, loving technology, and being involved with it in a hands-on way. My first computer I got when it was 96. It was a Pentium 100. It was nearly $2,000. It didn't come with a monitor. It was, it was a kingly price at the time, and now it seems really ridiculous that you spend that much money on a PC. I don't know, even more on an entry-level computer. But that was my first introduction to having my own PC. It was like Windows 95 had just came out. It was on it, and I spent a lot of time fixing it, because I would invariably screw it up, and got a lot of good training and was helping other people out fixing their computers. And I was really lucky in high school. I had a great teacher, Mr. Kennedy, who he had a class in Turing, which is a programming language designed to basically be an entry-level programming language, and from there moved on to C and C++, and had a lot of great training. In '98, I started my first company through the summer jobs program, and I did some consulting and training people and fixing PCs, and I also did work with the CAP project, or the Community Access Project, which enabled people to go to the library, get training on how to use websites, how to use the internet, how to use email, because it was still really cutting edge at the time. In our area, I mean, there's no, I don't even think the towns had, maybe the towns had broadband, but certainly nobody outside of town had broadband. It was still dial-up at the time. I was, building websites for the library, and the staff at the Seaforth Library were awesome to work with. It was a really fun time. And then that summer, I guess it was in that winter, that January start, I went off to college and studied computer programming. Came back, managed a computer store for a year, which was a great experience. Again, being involved in purchasing and working with a lot more customers and understanding how a retail store worked. And I learned my cardinal lesson then, which was never sell anything where you have to lay awake at night worrying if it's going to keep the customer happy or not. So my philosophy ever since then was never take a chance. Even if you lose the sale, it's better than selling the customer something they're not happy with. And that's followed me ever, since then. After a year at that company, I was contacted by a large farm equipment dealership, and I became their director of information technology for the next 5 years. And it was a great step. I learned so many interesting things. It was like we started implementing VPNs between all the branches. We ran an IBM mid-range, so I learned how that worked. We automated all the technicians, so we went from book service manuals to these to software that ran on laptops where we could do quick lookups and schematics, and it was a really exciting time. And then after 5 years, I decided it was time for another challenge, and that I could work with more companies, and so I left and started my own company. So I started Wilkinson Signature PC, which was custom computer sales. And then shortly after, I started Aurora Business IT Solutions, which was doing on-site service for companies and doing consulting and helping them manage their system and make things run more efficiently and safer and less error-prone, all that sort of stuff. We moved into the web space where we were building content management systems and database applications and things like that. And then I was working out of my home at the time, and then I moved to Goddard and hooked up with Atomic North for a year, so we had sort of a joint venture going on, and I was doing websites and then working with them on the website side of things. I was doing the technology side of things, and then we parted ways a year later, and I went back to doing, basically what I was doing before. Is a little bit of web work and primarily some consulting and repairs and things like that. And now moving a lot more into the social media side of things, where we're lucky in this area in that we get to things, for better or worse, take a little bit longer to get here. So there's a real opportunity for anybody that can kind of see what's happening out there. Let's see what's cutting edge, and then see where it develops, and see where things are going to go, and take the best of those opportunities and translate them into business here locally. And so that's what I do. So I'm all about helping companies take their technology, their web strategy, their website strategy, and their social media marketing strategy, and kind of helping them build a plan around their technology, and work with them and coach them and learn all sorts of cool stuff about their companies. So I hope you found this interesting. I'm looking forward to talking to you, so please send me comments at anthonywilkinson.tv. Leave me a comment on YouTube or on my blog, and thanks for watching, and I hope to talk to you soon, and I hope to hear what your story is. Take care.